a paperback book for sale on Amazon called Living in Multiple Worlds, My Reality. You ought to just go Amazon.com, type in that title, and you can find there's a little description, like on Goodreads, of the book, if you want to check it out. Okay, Amalia had a really interesting life. She lived abroad for many years with her first husband. And during that time, they lived in different places, and they weren't exactly as, developed. They weren't first world nations. They were second world nations at the very best, sometimes third world, maybe fourth world. And she faced many hardships and dangers, and she, during that time, relied on her spirituality heavily to get her through it. Well, at some point, now she'll probably correct me if I get things out of order, at some point she decided to return to the U.S., and at some point she got a divorce from her first husband, but she continued to raise her 4 children. Thank you. And she became a nationally recognized healthcare consultant for a lot of healthcare agencies like hospitals or nursing homes, things like that. And she was a consultant with her own firm, and in that setting, she was helping to investigate Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement fraud. And along the way, she became an expert resource for members of the U.S. Department of Justice. Did I get that right? Department of Justice? DOJ? DOJ? Okay. And during that time, she was helping to catch out these Medicaid and Medicare frauds who were given fraudulent charges. And she met her second husband, Special Agent Alan Hugh Crawford. So they got married, and they had a very wonderful marriage. And unfortunately, Mr. Crawford passed away a few years ago. I didn't find out exactly how long Amalia's lived in Florida. Are you a native?
Well, I've lived in Florida since 76, but in Ocala since 2019.
Okay, so 76 for Florida and 2019 for Ocala. So, once again, we're very happy to have Amalia as our secretary. If you could give Amalia a big hand, I would appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. All right. Now we're going to move on to our speaker, and it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you guys to Joyce Blake. And if you've never met Joyce before, she is a mainstay in Marion County politics as well as Florida politics. And she's been a member of the DEC for 13 years, and she's been, for 13 years she's been a member of the DEC and been very active. She actually was the coordinated campaign chair for the DEC, and at the state level, she's been the Florida Democratic Party Congressional District 3 chair and vice chair. And most recently, she was appointed by our new Florida Democratic Party chair, Nikki Fried, to be a member of the FDP's Committee on Clubs, Organizations, and Caucuses representing Marion County. And we are one of those. We fall into one of those categories. So with over a decade of experience as a state committee woman, she's developed an understanding of the workings of the party. And she's also a vice chair for the State Clubs and Caucus Committee. She's described as a team player and a consensus builder, and she was I say lucky, I think she was very pleased to be able to work on the 2008 Obama campaign. And so she's special to me, and I'm pleased to present her to you because when I get into a bind, something about the party, something about politics, I have relied on her many times for aid and information. So please welcome Joyce Blake.
First of all, good evening, and I'm pleased to see everyone this evening. See some old friends that I haven't seen in a long, long time, and some people I've recently met, so that's really wonderful. It is always a pleasure to come out and speak with colleagues. I call you colleagues because we're all in this together. You know, it's like we're in a ditch trying to get out right now. And in Florida, it's really pretty rough. So first of all, I'm going to talk to you about the Democratic Party. And I don't know if Linda has explained that to you, but there's a whole lot to the Democratic Party that people don't really know. And so I'm going to start from the beginning and come on back down to where we are, to your club that you have here now. But before we do that, I want to say hello to Linda and make sure that we all get together in what we're doing here today. Okay, so now I want to first start out with some questions. Anybody who's ever come to a DEC meeting, when I was the chair of the meeting, chair of the DEC, I always had some kind of quiz or something asking what you know about the Democratic Party or about politics or about the Constitution. That's just part of, I'm an educator, I can't help myself. Can't help myself. So, okay, so instead of giving each one of you a little paper so you have to struggle your brain on it, we're going to do it as a group effort tonight. And so just click your hand, don't yell out. You can't yell out, but just click your hand and we'll get the right answer to something. And Linda, you can't play.
Okay, well, I was gonna have him get some duct tape.
And Sheila, you can't play.
Because anybody who knows me knows I can't keep my mouth shut.
I probably should exclude Gary also, because he probably knows the answers. Okay, first thing, what does DNC stand for? DNC.
NC.
Committee.
Come on.
Democratic National Committee.
Correct. Democratic National Committee. Democratic National Committee is located in Washington, D.C. Who is the chair of the committee? Oh, Jim, hi.
She made me put together some cabinets at the DEC one time. Nikki Freed.
Nope. Nope, wrong party, wrong place. National
Right
Party.
party.
Who's chair of the National Party? Jamie Harrison. He used to be the chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party. And when Biden became president, he was elevated to chair of the DNC. Okay? Remember that one, you're gonna need it somewhere down the line, somewhere. What does FDP stand for? FDP. FDP.
Frank David Paul.
No.
Where's that tape?
Florida Democratic Party, that is right. And who is the chair? Jim?
He's got that one.
Who's the chair?
Which party? Which level?
Florida Democrat. You just gave me the answer a few minutes ago. Nikki Freed. Nikki Freed was recently elected chair of the party. I was there for that election. It was, we were on pins and needles, trying to make sure we got through on one vote because otherwise we were gonna have to get sleeping bags out to keep going. But we got it through on the first vote, which was a miracle to say the least. How often do your clubs, your Oak Run Club, how often do you have to get certified by the Florida Democratic Party? How often do you have to go through certification to be recertified for the party?
You got a hand over there.
Every 2 years, correct, every 2 years. And this is your year. And it's every odd year. So it's every 2 years on the odd year. So you always just remember, odd year, recertification. Recertification is a new process for all of us this year. We're gonna have to muddle our way through it, but we'll get through it at some point. We'll make sure everybody gets through. I'm on the certification committee. I'm on the Clubs and Caucus committee. I am the regional chair for our county for the Clubs and Caucus committee. So we have to get ours through because it's on me to make sure that they're correct. So, and we always make sure ours are good. Now this is a tough one for everybody. When was the National Committee, Democratic National Committee, when was it first established?
Whoa.
Ah,
Oh.
I knew I had one I'd get you on. 1858.
Woo! Wow.
The Democratic National Committee has been in existence since 1858, and it was formed at the Democratic Party's National Convention, and that's what it came about. Okay, what is the main objective of the Democratic Party? What is our main objective? The main objective,
At this time.
always, what is our main objective?
You elect Democrats.
You got it. Elect Democrats. That is our main objective. And everybody wants us to do everything else, but our main objective is to elect Democrats. Okay? So it becomes very interesting on how we go about things. Now, even though we have our main objective, the Democratic Party also has a platform that is established at the National Convention. And the DNC members come from all over the states. Every state has members to the National Convention, to the Democratic National Committee. We have members, I think Florida has, I think I counted them 12 or 14. And they are elected at our party meetings. When I have to trudge my way down to a party meeting somewhere, that is when we elect, and annually we elect DNC members. Oh, my telephone's telling me it's gonna rain. So, there are representation from all of the states in the Union, all 50, plus many of the territories to the National Committee, the Democratic National Committee. So it's more than just 50 states that are represented. Those we have five, I think it's 5 territories. I don't, all 5 are not represented, but some of those are represented there. Okay, now back to the platform. The platform is established by what's called the Platform Committee. And they meet well before the National Convention time comes about. And they establish what the platform is, and it's from conversations and interests from different groups across the nation, and where we see what we need and where we want to go. So, just so you know what they are, you don't have to have common sense gives you a definition of what most of them are, but just so you know what the topics are. There's education, we know that, jobs, right? Healthcare, women and families, can you believe it? Women and families, very important. Civil rights, voting rights, protecting land and water, that's a key thing for us. Immigration, and accountability in government. Those are the items on the platform for the Democratic Party. Now, what is the Republican platform? Donald Trump.
Zero.
That's all it is. That's what it is. So once we have the Democratic National Committee, then we have the breakdown of how it comes down to us. And instead of putting a chart up on the wall where you see it one time and you walk out the door, and if you're like me, you forget what you just saw, I printed it out. I made a little chart and printed it out for you so you can take it home and play with it all you want to play with it. And you can bite on it, take notes on it, whatever you want to do with it, that's yours to keep. And I'm sure I have enough, because I ran off 50, so I'm pretty sure I have enough for everybody. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk you through each part of this flow chart. So you have an understanding of from the DNC coming down to the clubs where we are today. Okay? So as soon as everybody gets one, there should be enough to go over there. Did they even get any over here? There's some extra somewhere?
Yeah, we got some more coming.
Can we get another one over here, please?
Got some, yeah, down this way, Herman.
The last table, they don't have any over there. Herman, one for Sheila.
Yeah, they said they needed them. Do you need more?
wanted to make the font a little larger, but then I was coming off of the page, so I had to go back down to 14
Almost read it.
points in order to get it on the page and give you, and have space there in case you wanted to write notes on it or something. That's why I put it like that. Okay. So now, I've given you a little bit of information about the Democratic National Committee. That's at the top. That is the top of our organization, the number one place, okay? From that, all states, as I just mentioned, all states and territories have a Democratic Party. Ours is the Florida Democratic Party. Now, you're going to see a change in names as we go along. Democratic National Committee, then we go to Florida Democratic Party. Now, the reason it's Florida Democratic Party, and all of the states have party, is because it represents all of the Democrats within the state. That's the party structure for all of them. Now, under the party, we have a host of different things. Excuse me, let me go back for just 1 second. You'll see up on the Democratic National Committee, you will see an arrow coming to a slant to the side that says Women's Club. And that is because the Women's Club, the Democratic Women's Club, comes off of the National Committee. They come off of the National Committee. They're parallel down the side to all states and counties. They're not separated out like clubs would be separated out. Okay, back to the states. In Florida, in the Florida Democratic Party, we have, now I'm going to start from the left side of the paper and come across. Appointed committees. There are a multitude of appointed committees within the party. And what we have, just a few of them, would be the Clubs and Caucus Committee that Linda referenced that I am a member of. There is the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, which I'm also a member of. Then there is the Rules Committee, the Judicial Committee, and it's probably a couple that I'm missing back, because I know it's a couple more that I just couldn't think of today, but that gives you a flavor of what kind of committees. Those are appointed. People for those committees are appointed by the chair, and the chair being Nikki Freed. We were just appointed. Once she became chair, everything was in limbo for about two or 3 months until she got in and could get her feet on the ground. So those are some of the committees that are appointed by the chair. Then you have the College Dems. The College Dems is an entity of its own under the Florida Democratic Party. They're not under the DEC, they're not under the club's era at all. And there's a separate group that is called College Democrats, and they have their own structure and their own bylaws, but their bylaws must conform to FDP's bylaws, okay? Then we have the Executive Committee. The Executive Committee are the state elected committee men and committee women for each of the counties. So that would be me, because I'm a state committee woman, and Rick Perry is your state committee man, okay? Our term is always a 4-year term, and we will end up after the election in 2024, there'll be a new election, and I'm announcing to everybody I will not be running again. So, and Rick has announced he will not be running again. So it's going to be wide open for anyone who wants to be a state committee man or woman. Now, we are the ones who we're the ones who vote for things that are going on within FDP. We're the ones who voted for Nikki Freed. All these other subsidiary people who are on another committee, they don't get to vote on those kinds of things. So it's the Executive Committee that we make the rules, regulations, and move them forward like that. Okay, then on the next side, you have the Central Committee. So you said Executive Committee, Central Committee. The Central Committee consists of all of the elected personnel, like I am elected as chairperson for Congressional District 3. So therefore, I am on the Central Committee. Just because I'm a state committee woman, it doesn't mean I'm on the Central Committee, though. Okay? So all of the caucus chairs, the DNC chair, the DNC members, and other elected people, they are on the Central Committee. That's a big committee, and it gets bogged down all of the time. It's like torture going to one of those meetings, but you do what you have to do.
Joyce, if I could just speak for a minute.
Mhm.
When you're the district, you were the District 3. Can you just explain what exactly that means? Was it
Okay,
the United-
Congressional District 3?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Congressional District 3. We're all, they just had the redistricting after the census. We're all now finally in Congressional District 3. And the state party has congressional district elections. And each congressional district elects a chair and a vice chair. It is the chair's responsibility, the chair of the congressional district, responsibility to make sure that the elections for the national convention takes place. So it would be my responsibility to make sure that anyone who wants to run for a seat as a delegate to the national convention, I will give them information, I will set up voting locations, and I will set up the voting system for that, and then I will be the one, my team will be the ones tallying and making sure that the votes get in appropriately. There is a way to get through the process of being a delegate. So if anyone wants to be a delegate to the National Convention, you need to see me early on so I can give you some hints on how to do that. I was a delegate to the National Convention in 2012. Rick Perry was a delegate in 2008 and 2012. Doric Nurse was in 2012 and 16, I think. So we have some history here in Marion County of going to the National Convention. First thing I'll tell you, anyone who wants to go, it's expensive. You're on your own dollar for the National Convention. And depending on location, this year, the next convention is August in Chicago. August 24, Chicago. And you can probably, with the transportation, hotel, and other stuff that you just do, and food, you're gonna come in close to $2,000. So if you have $2,000 or below, then do it. It's a wonderful experience. It's a wonderful experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And how long does it normally last?
It's 4 days, I think it is. I think I have it written somewhere here. It's August 19th through 22nd in Chicago. Okay? Good? All righty. Where is that? Okay, I'm over to Young Dems. Young Dems are the younger people who are not in college yet. So that we're looking at teenagers, 18. You can register at 17, you know that. So we're trying to get those people involved. We are having difficulty in Marion County because we are a senior citizens county. So we have difficulty with Young Dems and College Dems here in Marion County. We've been trying desperately to get those two organizations up and running, but we are struggling. So if you have some nieces or nephews or grandkids or whatever hanging around and they want to get active, we would love to have them. So we just send them our way. Yes.
The young Democrats can go up though into the college ages, can't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Young Dems can go up past college age, really.
Like into their
Yeah.
30s or something like
Yeah.
that?
Mhm. Okay, and then we have the caucuses. Caucuses are a interesting beast, to say the least. And that's the only way I can put it as a beast. The caucuses start out as state caucuses. It's a state caucus. They have to apply to the state and get their bylaws, everything approved by the state. Then under the state caucus, then you have local chapter caucuses. Example being the Veterans Caucus. There's a state Veterans Caucus, okay? Most of the counties around have local chapters like Alachua County veterans or Citrus County veterans or we used to have a veterans caucus, but it fizzled out. With all the veterans, we should have been able to keep it, but it fizzled out. So each one of the caucuses, they have to have local chapters. You can't just have a state chapter and not have locals. You have to have locals under that. Now also, they have different rules to go by. They don't have to follow the same rules that we do as DECs and you do as a club. They can write their bylaws so that they can endorse a Democrat against a Democrat.
Whoa,
That's right.
whoa.
They can donate mega amounts of money. They don't have to follow the rule of the $500 that clubs have to follow. So, and they can do petitions. They can do so much more that clubs and DECs cannot do. So, and we have a lot of caucuses, by the way, a lot. And if you're interested in knowing what caucuses we have, go on the Florida Democratic Party website and look it up, and you can drop it down, and they'll give the caucuses and give you all the names of all the caucuses. There's too many for me to try to give to you because there's so many of them. Okay, and then we have the Women's Club over on the side again. The Women's Club is not part of the Democratic Party of Marion County. It's not. The Democratic Executive Committee, excuse me, not party, Executive Committee. They're not part of the Democratic Executive Committee of Marion County. They're part of the Marion County Democratic Party. Party is all the people, and then we go down, the next drop down is the Democratic Executive Committee. This is Marion County's Democratic Executive Committee. Now we've gone from the Democratic National Committee to Florida Democratic Party. Now we're in Democratic Executive Committee. So you see the changes, how it drops down? Okay, the Democratic Executive Committee is the functioning body in Marion County, and they're in every state. Most counties have a Democratic Executive Committee. That's what they're called under the Florida Democratic Party, under the DNC. We follow the rules of the DNC. We don't make up our own. So you see things that say DEC, you make your checks out to DEC, and you don't ever know what DEC means. It's a Democratic Executive Committee. And why is it the Democratic Executive Committee? It is that because everybody that is on that committee are elected members. They are elected precinct captains from across the county, and from there you move into other areas. I'll get to that in a second. But everybody here on the executive committee are voting members. They are elected precinct captains. Before you can do anything else within the DEC, you have to be elected as a precinct captain. And or, there's always an if or something, and or a club president, or an elected official. They're all voting members of the DEC, okay?
And when you say elected official, you mean elected by the public?
Yes,
Not
yes, yeah.
internal.
County commissioners, or, we don't have hardly anybody. We just have a couple people in the city, a couple people in the, in Reddick, I think it's in Reddick, and we did have somebody in Denellen, but I think they dropped out, so, yeah, like that. They're automatically members of the executive committee, and voting members, yes. Okay, everybody with me? All right, let me see if I can keep going. Let me tell you, when I did this for their executive board meeting, what was that, 2 hours?
You were, yeah,
I think I was 2 hours.
you
And
went into a lot of detail.
And I said, well, I have to try to curb it back for the night. You know, you don't want to hear me that long. Okay, under the DEC, Democratic Executive Committee, they're all elected members. Let's say in Gary Green's precinct, there are 4 people that want to be 4 women that want to be elected and 1 man, okay? The 1 man can automatically be brought in. All the executive committee, we can vote the 1 man in, no problem. The 4 women, no, because there's only 2 seats available because you have 1,000 people in your precinct.
Okay.
As long as you have 1,000 people in your precinct, you can have 2 male, 2 female. So now you have 4 women that want these 2 seats. They have to go on the ballot, the election ballot, and be voted on by everybody in the precinct for 2 people to come out of it. You follow me? Surprise, that's a surprise to most of you.
It is a surprise. So on a general election ballot, like.
General election ballot, yes. Yes.
Okay.
If there's more than the allotted number, they have to go on the election ballot. We've only had it to happen twice, I think,
But
twice.
We have how many positions available? We have,
I think you have 2 male and 2 female.
okay,
That's what you have available, I think, because you have 1,000, I'm sure you have 1,000 people in your precinct. It's not 1,000 Democrats, it's 1,000 people
Yeah.
in your precinct.
We actually have 2 precincts in Oak Run.
Right.
yeah.
And so as long as you have 1,000 people in your precinct, you get 2 and 2. If you have under about 999 people, you get 1 and 1.
I
So
think,
this would
I
be-
think both of our precincts have over 1,000.
I'm pretty sure they do, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure-
So-
Yes, I'm
Total,
sorry.
total voters, not,
So
de-
if
not
it's
Democrats.
on the general
No,
ballot,
no.
Total voters.
can, do people of all parties vote for our? 2?
Yes.
So Republicans can vote for our 4 people. If,
And these 4 people are
Do they have to be Democrats?
DEC officers or
No,
precinct captains?
That'd be precinct captains.
Oh, okay, all right.
They'd be precinct captains.
that's weird.
Yeah, but that's, because it's open, if it's on the general, if it's on the primary ballot, if they get through on the primary ballot, then it's only Democrats voting. If nobody gets a percentage on the primary, then it goes to the general election. But most of the time, it would get through on the primary ballot, so you don't have that
When
problem.
was the last time that happened? I mean, it hasn't happened since I've lived here.
The last time it happened was in, I want to say 2011, I think it was, when our present chair, Diana Williams, and another person from her precinct were both up, and we didn't know that 2 people were running, because we would have, kind of gotten it taken care of. But we didn't know that 2 people were running, and both names appeared on the ballot.
Huh? 2011.
Yeah, it was about 2011, because Diana came in, Diana, by the way, is the chair of the Democratic Party here in Marion County. So Diana Williams, she's been my sidekick for a long, long time. So, this is her 2nd term as chair. I was impressed that she was willing to take a 2nd term. Most of us don't do a 2nd term. It's too draining on you, but she's doing great.
So do you know if the Republicans are similarly structured so that Democrats can vote?
They're structured almost identical to us. The difference being that for our precinct captains, they're technically called committee men and committee women. Ours, we can vote them in at our DEC meetings. With the Republicans, I think they have to all be voted in on the ballot. I know their state committee man and state committee woman have to be voted in on the ballot, whereas ours can be voted in at the general meeting.
Is that state law?
No.
It just happens that we're both doing it the same?
Well, when you really get down to it, if you put the 2 parties side by parallel, you'll see that there's a lot of similarities in the structure of the 2 parties. So there's a lot of similarities from the national party to the state party to the local. It's very similarly structured. Yeah, it's not a big difference. They copied off us. But you do know that the Democrats, a lot of them are still called Dixiecrats because
Yes.
they were what the Republicans are now.
Yes.
They used to be what the Republicans are now, so
Yeah.
sometimes when you're trying to call people, you wind up getting a Dixiecrat, and they are not very nice on the phone. I've been there, I know that. Okay, let me jump on the other side of the chart to precinct captains. And I was just talking about precinct captains, and in Marion County, I think we're down to 100 and, I think it's 105, Sheila, is it 105 precincts? 105 precincts, and we don't have anywhere near that many precinct captains. We don't have that many precincts covered. I think we have maybe a fourth of them covered. So we're always looking for precinct captains to come on board to cover precincts. And I think we're gonna look at doing an adoption of precincts this year maybe, where we have precinct captains in a precinct, where that precinct will adopt a precinct that does not have any precinct captains, so that they work together.
I
So
did that.
so that's something that we've been talking about back and forth, so hopefully it will move forward. You know, Lavonda McCandless had been chairing the precinct captains committee, and that was one of the things that she had come up with, and I think it's a good idea, because we have got to get other people involved. It's almost 80,000 Democrats in Marion County, and there's about 100 that work the party. There's only about 100 people that really work the party. So we gotta get more people working in the party. So precinct captains, and they're good for 2 years, and then you have to renew your things. With us, it's easy, because all you have to do is fill the form out, come to a meeting, we notarize it, and bam, it's done. So we don't get a whole lot of headaches going through the precinct captain selection thing. And there's, Lavonda has set up a wonderful training for precinct captains. We used to do trainings before, but we did them annually or biannually or quarterly or something. But Lavonda's been doing something that was about monthly, but because of illness, she's had to step back. So Sherry, are you gonna take that?
No, not taking it officially, no.
Okay, well, we're still looking for somebody to take it officially then. But Sherry had been working with Lavonda on that.
Can I,
Mhm.
what does the training consist of?
You've been through the training.
The precinct captain training?
Oh, no, you haven't.
No, I have not.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
The precinct captain training, it's a slide presentation and step-by-step on what precinct captains are supposed to do in their precincts, how they organize their precinct, how they establish their teams that they want to set up within their precinct, and then how they locate their voters and how they target the different sets of voters,
Okay.
like that. Okay? All right. Okay. So, I want to move over to appointed committees. I want to go back on this side to appointed committees. We have appointed committees within the DEC. And before I go to appointed committees, let me stop. I'm going too fast. Let me back up to steering committee first. First one on your left, steering committee. The steering committee is the officers of the DEC that's been elected by the DEC members only voting, and elect the chair, the vice chair, secretary, treasurer, state committee man, state committee woman. Okay? Those are the initial people elected to the steering committee. Then we go to appointed committees, and the chair has the opportunity to appoint people to the steering committee. And our bylaws gives a breakdown of how many they can appoint, which way they can do it. I think it's 3, they can appoint 3 DEC members and 2 non-DEC members. So you don't have to be a member of the DEC to be on the steering committee. So there's two slots that you can be on it. And we do have a couple of people who are not precinct captains who are on the steering committee, which is great because it gives you just more latitude on what you're doing. Then we go to clubs. You are a club, Oak Run Democratic Club. We have a host of Democratic clubs, not a host. That's what I wanted to have. We have some Democratic clubs. So I think we have 6. We had 7 We're down to 6. And hopefully we can hold on to 6, but I'm afraid we're gonna lose the Hispanic Club because they're not really interested in renewing. So I think we're gonna have 5 that will renew. So we'll get everybody renewed, and it'll be for me, it won't be painful for you, it'll be painful for me to get the process done, but we'll get it done. Gary will have to help me. I have to cry on his shoulder. I don't know that. I don't know Google Docs, I just don't know it. Gary tried to teach me Google Docs, but 6, 8 years ago almost?
5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. He tried to teach me Google Docs. He came to the office, it was all set. Okay, George, let's sit down, let me teach you Google Docs. I found everything possible to do, rather than sit down and learn Google Docs that day. The phone rang, I would jump up and answer. There was people to answer the phone. All I kept thinking of, I am too old, my brain is foggy, I don't want to learn all of this new stuff. But here I am, and I have to learn it anyway, so I'm at your mercy now. What can I say? You got me. What can I say? So all of the clubs will do their birth certification, and it's the same process that you've been doing. It's just that the submission process will be different. And Linda has talked with me about it. I think she's all straight on what to do and everything. The biggest concern that people have during the recertification process is the loyalty oaths. Now, the loyalty oath simply says that you will not go out in public and endorse or campaign for a non-Democrat. That's all it says.
That's all it says.
That's all it says. It doesn't say, I'm going to be looking over your shoulder when you go in the voting booth. It doesn't say that. You do what you want in the voting booth. I could care less. No, I could care.
Can I just add one thing? It's very similar to the oaths that judges have to take.
Yeah.
Hal went and looked it up, because in our board meeting one time, there was quite a bit of discussion about this. And there was a little bit of concern, and I don't want to use the word dissension, because people, I don't think really understood what, you're not signing your life away that you're gonna be owned by the Democratic Party or something. When you go vote, it's private. You can vote for Trump if you want to, okay? So no.
I find out, I might shoot you.
Don't say that.
The ultimate oath.
Mercy.
Say that.
What can I say?
Okay.
Okay, so then we have, that's how the club's gonna operate. So the filling out the application, the forms, everything, the bank statements, the EIN numbers, all of that is the same as it's been the previous year. In fact, Linda asked me, did I have a copy of hers from the previous time, and I just clicked the thing and sent it to her, the last one that was submitted.
Yeah.
Because I keep the previous year on my computer just for that purpose. Because everything that you're doing should be almost identical to what you did before. The only thing that I think I'm still a little confused about, and I think FDP is confused about it, is the submission of the membership, because there's one block that says officers, there's another block that says board members, and then there's another block that says members. But at the last meeting that I was on Zoom with them, they said on the members block, they wanted both of the 2 others attached to that one too. I said, this is crazy. But we'll get it straightened out. We'll get it straightened out.
Just so you'll know, the way we did it the last time, we created a list of our officers, because your board consists of officers and then directors. So we made a list of the officers, then we made a list of the other people who are directors, and then we made a list of our general membership that weren't in those positions. Right? Yeah.
And that file was what we had given to you to use, and everybody
Exactly.
used it. Everything worked out fine. We'll get that's a little glitch in it right now that we'll have to get worked out. Okay, so that's the clubs. And the clubs are essential to the survival and function of the DEC. I can't emphasize that enough. Clubs are absolutely essential, because you are the ones who prop us up. You are the ones who send us volunteers. You are the ones who make donations. You are the ones that support activities. It's the clubs that do it. It's the clubs. And then, so that's why clubs are so important to us. And I really would like to expand the clubs and maybe if I get a burst of energy, I might work on that this year, next year or something. But that's something that we really need to try to work at. But when I became coordinated campaign chair in 2009, I think our clubs had gone down to, I think we maybe had 1 or 2 active clubs. And then they started coming back online, working, getting people back online as being active. But we were down to 1 or 2 clubs at that point in time. So it's tough sometimes to keep clubs going. But this one's really good. Okay, then we go to registered Democrats. Registered Democrats, that is the rest of the party. That's who the Florida Democratic Party covers. That's who they cover. The DEC covers the elected members. And I personally, this is me and anybody who's been around with me for a long time, you know that whenever I'm doing something, I always say the Democratic Party. You don't hear me in meetings or dinners or whatever saying the Democratic Executive Committee. That's offsetting to people. And they feel left out. So I always would say Democratic Party, even though I knew that I was representing the Executive Committee. And I thought that was a better way to move about it. So that's just how I am. I'm from Maryland. I'm from right outside of Washington, D.C. I'm from the Beltway politics. I started working on politics many, many years ago. I won't tell you how many years ago, but many, many years ago. So I'm entrenched in the political things, and I've stepped back quite a bit. I had some health issues. I had to step back, but the things, I'm doing better. I'm doing good. So I'm trying to do more things this year and help out as much as I can. Now, I've done it. Whew. Any questions?
Joyce,
Yes, Sheila.
quick question. So the Democratic Women's Club, do they report, are they part of the structure? Is the Democratic Women's Club part of the structure of the National Democratic Committee at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. That's my understanding.
Okay.
Let me qualify that. That's my understanding. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Is there any way of finding out, all right, is there any way of finding out how many registered Democrats are in a specific country club?
Yes,
In a club, yeah.
yes.
We have a system to tell you how many Democrats are on your street.
Yeah. You can call me.
We can bring it right down to that. We can bring it right down to your street. We can do your,
You're in Golden, Ocala?
That's in our
Ocala Palms.
neighbors.
that's right there.
Sorry, I'm wrong.
I live in Ocala Palms. Maybe we can talk. I've been wanting to do a club back again, but I didn't want to do it by myself.
I didn't know there were any Democrats.
I have a house on the corner by the gate. You can't miss my house. Going out the gate, front gate, it's my house on the right-hand side. Stop by and say hello.
I misspoke there. I can't tell you about Ocala Palms, but Hal and I have all of the registered Democrats and Republicans and NPAs within our 2 precincts here in Oak Run, and I imagine you do too, right, Sherry?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so Sherry could give it to you,
It's
or
on
I
our-
can,
It's on our internal website that I stood up.
okay,
I
okay.
can do it for her.
Okay, all
I
right.
can do it. I can do it. I
Well,
have the,
yeah, I can.
I have access to things. We have a system called BAN. And that gives us access to all the registered Democrats, Republicans, and NPAs in the county. And mine will go statewide, but most people's will only go countywide. And we can do a graph to do a walking distance. I can do a graph to show everybody in my community, on my street, on 50th Avenue, where I live. I've done it before, all the Democrats on that street. Not many of us, but I can still find them. Okay,
Unless there's other questions out here.
Jim?
What can we do as two? What we can do as club members for the DEC when election time starts heating up?
Sheila is going to be the one who is going to talk about what she is requesting of not just clubs, but all Democrats in the county to do. And that is her bailiwick. As coordinated campaign chair, it is Sheila who develops a plan for the county on how we are going to function during the election season, prior, during, and after the election season. Okay? Any questions? Yeah,
And,
Sharon.
and that would flow down, I'm assuming when she does it, that'll flow to the precinct captain.
Yes.
Which I'm the precinct captain for both of our precincts in Oak Run. So then I'll be sending out things saying, okay, here, we're gonna be addressing, you know, NPAs or whatever, we can't knock on doors, but helping distribute flyers and things like that,
Helping with the city of Ocala elections.
helping with the city of Ocala.
Yeah, we have to help with all those elections. The city of Ocala, we have an election going on there. Our Bethea is running, and we need to help him because the person he's running against is,
Reggie?
I'm a good Catholic person, so I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, all right.
Leaves a little bit to be desired.
I know him well, so. Okay,
Joyce, let me, something that we mentioned at the club level before, but I have you expound on it a little bit, and that is the $500 annual limit. And address, if you will, please, why that hasn't been adjusted by inflation. But talk about the concept first.
okay, the Florida Democratic Party, and I think it came from the DNC, I'm not positive, but I think it did. But the Florida Democratic Party has a cap on the amount of money that clubs can donate. It stops at $500 total per year to candidates. Now you can donate, I just found this out, you can donate to the DEC, but you can't donate more than $500 to candidates. So if you have 3 candidates and you want to support them financially, you got to divvy up $500 between the 3 of them. Because you can't get any more than that in an annual year, so January to December. The year runs January to December. So if you have money in your coffer in November and you want to do something with it, that's the time to donate something so you can start fresh in January with another $500.
But the DEC is not included in that 500 anymore.
That's what they told me. That's what they told me.
Okay.
So I won't swear by it
And it's been $500 for,
as long as I can remember.
yeah.
Wow.
But it came down to that because there's some clubs in South Florida that had humongous amounts of money in their treasury. I mean, when I take humongous, they had $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in their treasury. And I'm thinking, what are they going to do with all that money? But they wanted to donate, they wanted to support candidates. But FDP said, no, you can't do that because that's being partial. A club can't do that because the club's being partial to what the DEC has been able to do. So they put the cap on it. And for as long as I can remember, and I've been with the state party ever since 2010. So I've been with FDP, you know, as an elected officer to FDP since 2010. So it's been that way since then. And the last time we met, Gary, we asked about this. The last Clubs and Caucus meeting we asked about the $500, and they said it was not going to be changed anytime soon. Even with the inflation and everything, so. Okay?
Any last questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Like I said, this is the go-to woman here, boys and girls. You have another question?
I want to see Sheila for a minute.
Okay, please do. While I take care of a few things here. Gary, do you want to tell us how much money we have?
$500.
You know it by heart, right? Or
Last
it's-
time I looked was,
Like, I've got her address.
as of May 18th, it was 1,065, and I think the last time I checked, it was at 1105, so another $40 on top of that. 84 members of our club have paid dues. If you haven't paid dues, I'm the treasurer. Make your check payable to ORDC and get it to me.
Okay, thank you. All right, and when I sent out the original agenda here, I said that the May general meeting minutes were sent out in an email. That was incorrect. It turns out that Amalia wasn't here for the May meeting, so I was doing the minutes, and I did them today, and I emailed them to you. And I ask you to please look them over before the July meeting. If you could do that, that would be great. Technically, we are supposed to be ratifying or voting on those minutes. The thing is, if you were here in that May meeting, if you see any errors in the minutes, like so this didn't happen or that did happen, please send me an email and I will make a correction, okay? Because I was filling in for Amalia. Okay, let me look here. So it does turn out that the April minutes were emailed out. So those are in your email. And I realize you get lots of emails, but when we send it, Gary, or anybody, any member of our club sends an email through Google Groups, it comes through the Oak Run Google Groups email. So when you see that, you know it's coming from us. Okay, so if you could look at it, that would be great. Okay, I'm going to go out of order here a little bit. I think what I'd like to do right now, the reason I wanted as many people as possible to come tonight, is that over time, the board has discussed, adjusting our meeting time. And I'm just going to ask Jim Carroll a question. Are you still going to keep track of the votes, Jim? Okay, good. Okay, and the latest thing we came up with was we'd like to ask the club members, that's you, if you would like to change our meeting time from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. We'd still be right here in this room. The third Thursday of the month. We'd get you out of here a little earlier if that matters to any of you. And so what I would like to do now, and I'm going to ask our parliamentarian, Jim Carroll. Jim, I don't have to call for a motion to vote, do I? Just call for a vote. Is that correct?
Yes. Before we do that, though, let's just open it up to the membership if they have a concern about changing the time.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right. Well, we were just going to take a vote. It was going to be the plurality votes win, but okay. Would anybody like to comment on whether we change our meeting time?
Moving it from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. Everything else stays.
Why? Dinner time.
Why? Over time, there have been many discussions about it. 6 p.m. came up. I mean, I wish I had a better answer for you. I don't. We've tried. We've run surveys, which a lot of people didn't answer. Some people wanted it to be in the afternoon. It's been all over the map. So I don't have a better answer. Do you have a better answer than that, Gary? Why?
The question is driven now because we need to reserve our meeting location for 2024 by September 1st, I think. So the scheduler, the person who keeps track of each facility and every hour at each of our clubhouses and so forth, she has given us until September to claim again our time. But we also know that this room is available at 6 if we want it. And so the question that comes up now, because we're in this process of reclaiming our time, and one of the motivating factors, one of the things that we have heard from people in the past is that there's dinner time concerns and there's driving home in the dark concerns. And an hour is only going to change that for, November and March, maybe. Instead of being in the dark, it'll be daylight if we move it ahead to 6 o'clock. But most of the year, it's going to be light enough out tonight when we leave here, I think, right? Not going to get dark until
8:30 or
8:30 or so, 8:05 now. So that's just one of the concerns, is the driving home in the dark. But then, there's dinner time concerns. Mostly we're retirees, but there are some folks in our club who are still commuting to work or commuting home at this time. So that's why we wanted just to see if there's, somebody with an opinion that should be expressed before we have you all vote.
Yeah, does anybody want to pontificate on this subject? Talk to us about it. Tell us why we shouldn't do it or why we should.
Lily?
I like the idea of driving here while it's still light out in the winter.
Okay.
Driving here, it's gonna be dark.
It'll be dark
We-
when we leave.
Just so you'll know, for those of you who don't know, we welcome some people from outside our gates. We are very happy, and Lily Fruit is one of those people who's been a member of this club for a really long time, but she
Maryland.
actually,
And I
yeah, Ruth
sometimes
and
drive
Marilyn.
past the club because I'm not so familiar with the neighborhood.
Right, and I saw a hand back there.
Why don't you just make it 6:30, split it down the middle?
Well, okay, if someone would like to comment on why that would be a better thing to do, is that for work reasons, to get here on time by 6:30, or?
I have my two 97-year-old parents and I'm cooking dinner for them.
Yeah,
7 o'clock is really good.
7 o'clock's good for me too.
Okay, 7 o'clock is very good for, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Barbara, but
Barbara.
if you want to split it down the middle this way,
Well, let me think, is there any right reason why we couldn't do that? Probably no reason at all why we couldn't do that.
And this is why we gave the audience an opportunity to pipe up. So
All right, okay, anybody else want to comment? Now we have 6:30 on the table. So, and by the way, I have no dog in this fight. I will be here when I am available to be here regardless of what time we do it. Okay, so anybody else want to comment? Oh, well, okay, well, we need to take a vote,
I like
Let's
it
vote.
as,
because,
like it as it is.
keep it,
I would like to call a vote.
you would like to call a vote?
Okay.
Oh, okay, all right, well, okay. So, we've got Jim keeping track of the voting numbers. Everyone who is in favor of raising your, in favor of keeping our meeting time at 7 p.m., raise your hands. I'm gonna recuse myself from voting.
How many don't care? Either fine.
hands in the air if you're in favor of leaving it just like it is, 7 o'clock.
21, and you do have a quorum, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, and we have a total of how many people here? 37. I think 21 is a majority of 37, right? I did take grade school math. Okay, well,
Abby, are you still voting? Are you?
Abby, are you voting for keeping it?
Hand up longer than anybody else
Okay,
there.
well, 7 o'clock it is, folks. We're a democratic club here, we're a democracy. Okay, 7 o'clock it is. Okay, like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight. Okay, all right. Now, continuing on with going out of a little order here. We like to have, in the past, we've liked to have, pre-COVID, a couple of socials every year. And the board discussed this at great length the other day. And I am making a general announcement that we are, in July, going to have a social meeting. And as we just voted for 7 p.m., that social meeting will take place right here at 7 o'clock in this room. And it's going to be a very casual get-together. We might play some games. And the consensus seems to be that we're going to carry in some pizza and salads. And so for those people who are vegetarians, there'll be vegetarian people. And for those people who really like a lot of meat, there'll be meat pizzas. So pizzas of every kind. And I've got some board members here, so you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we agreed that we would ask people to contribute $10 a head. Is Is that correct? That's what we discussed? Okay, good. So $10 a head to cover that. This is the part that the board and I didn't discuss, so we can do this right now. 2 board members are going to contribute one box of red wine and 1 box of white wine. And I was going to ask the board, but I forgot. Can the board also provide a dessert? I do have some board members here.
I'm in favor.
You cannot do alcohol without a license.
BYOB?
Wait a minute.
BYOB?
People bring alcohol in here all the time, Jim.
They're all part of
For
it.
themselves only, though, for individual consumption.
But we're not selling it.
Well, you're charging $10, so just everybody bring their own.
All right,
BYOB.
folks.
Well,
Your 2 people who were going to bring the wine have been voted out, so okay, no wine for you. Bring your own.
well, they can bring their own box of wine. and
Yeah,
we
there
can
you
all
go.
share it. I mean, what's-
Oh, that's right. That's right. These 2 lovely people can bring their own boxes of wine, and just like in a bar, that, you know, they put the bottles up there, and this is Jim's wine, and you can have some of it if you want. In what was those counties called? The dry counties where you could go to a club? Okay. I'm really old, guys. Anyway. Okay. Well, the boxes of wine will still be here, and they will belong to